Hello Rockstars, Matt Vanderbo here. Hey, are you a current taxi member that has become increasingly frustrated with the amount of returns that you are getting and the overall lack of success that you are achieving? Or are you even a former taxi member who stopped their membership because they saw no results? Well, if either of those are the case, then you are certainly not alone. So even though you may be frustrated, what I want you to know is there is a way forward for everyone, and you can achieve that success through taxi if you just do things the right way. And so in this video, I'm going to give you 5 ways that you can increase the chances of getting success by using taxi as a vehicle to further your musical career. Now, first of all, you may be asking,
are we talking about music or are we talking about cars? Why the are we talking about taxis?
okay, if you haven't seen this video yet, it is the previous video I did, which is all about a music service called Taxi. So watch that video if you haven't yet. And if you've already seen that video, then of course by now you know that I am a huge Taxi fanboy, and I credit everything in my professional musical life and even now in my personal life as a result of this company called Taxi. So this big old house I'm living in right now, that's a result of the royalties I made from deals I got through Taxi. Taking my daughter on fun vacations every summer, going off to the Bahamas, taking cruises here, there, and everywhere in the middle of normal work weeks. This is all because of the lifestyle that I have been afforded through the success I have gotten by using Taxi. Okay, so you can see I'm a huge fanboy for good reason, but it wasn't always this way. In fact, I spent the first 2 years of my membership completely wasting money and wasting time and effort and energy. In fact, I went through a spell of 68 returns in a row, if you can imagine that. 68 rejections. And then when I got my renewal letter for year number 3, boy, I thought long and hard about that one. I remember sitting at my kitchen counter thinking, why in the world would I sign up for another year of this? This is brutal on my ego, first of all. And second of all, it's costing me a bunch of money and I have nothing to show for it whatsoever. Talk about a money dump. Like if I just wanted to go light 3 $100 bills on fire in my backyard, that at least might have given me some enjoyment to watch my money go up in flames. But I did end up signing for year 3, and that's about the time I went to my first road rally. And that's the point everything changed for me, and my life went on this path of writing musical cues for TV, which has led me to where I am now. All of this is to say, I get your frustration. I've been in your shoes saying,
Taxi's a scam, this is a joke, all this stuff is fake, there's no way anyone is seeing results out of this.
And now I can tell you with 100% certainty, that's loser talk right there. That's honestly the stuff people say when their music is not good enough or it's not hitting the right needs. And so rather than placing the blame where it needs to be, which is on themselves, they blame the organization that's trying to help them. I guess that's human nature, whatever. So let's just get into my 5 tips of things that you can do to increase your chances of success by using Taxi. Okay, number 1, and perhaps most importantly, you need to have your own home studio. Now, this does not need to be anything fancy, and in my next couple of upcoming videos, I'm going to show you my own studio. And I hate using the word studio because that implies something grandiose. You don't need anything grandiose. You just need a place in your own house to be able to work on music. And if that is a laptop at your kitchen table with a set of headphones, then that's what it is. You just need to be able to make music on your own at home. And the first obvious reason for that is the monetary savings. To be able to make the amount of music that you need to make every year to get ahead in this game, you are going to be spending tons of hours behind your computer or in your studio. And if you are paying a professional studio by the hour, you are going to go bankrupt so fast it'll blow your mind. So you have to make this music at home. Now, I suppose if you're a songwriter who's writing country music for artist pitches, or you have a bunch of vocal songs that you think are a fit for television shows, you might be able to get some success by paying the big studios to produce your music. But if you're going into the world that I live in, which is writing primarily instrumental cues for TV shows, then there is no way you are going to be financially able to pay a recording studio to help you with that. You gotta do it on your own. Okay, tip number 2, if you really want your music to hit the nail on the head, you have to write custom music for each taxi listing that you are submitting to. It is not going to serve you very well at all to take your existing catalog of music and try to shoehorn it into listings into which it doesn't really fit. You know that analogy, trying to fit a square peg into a round hole?
Yeah, hello, square peg calling.
It is just going to be exceedingly rare for you to find instances in which the music you wrote years ago is going to fit a specific brief that is coming out today. But I will never say always or never, because there are times where older songs will fit the mark, but by and large, the best path to success happens when you write custom music for the listing. Your pre-existing catalog of music is probably not going to serve you all that well. You may get a few past the goalie here and there, but it's just not the best way to bank on success. Which leads me to another point. A lot of people are hesitant to join Taxi because they don't have a pre-existing catalog of music. And they'll say,
Well, I'll just, I'm not going to join Taxi quite yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spend the next year banking up all this music so I've got a huge catalog so that when I actually join Taxi, I'm ready to pound it with all this music that I've already written.
And while that might make a lot of logical sense in your brain, it just does not work. It doesn't pass the sniff test because, again, the best way to get success in Taxi is by writing music specific to a brief. That means that you are writing music about, a week or 2 weeks out before it's due after you know the requirements for what the company needs. The chances of you knowing exactly what a company is going to be asking for a year from now is just ludicrous. Like, what are you, a frickin' fortune teller? So unless mind reading is a secondary specialty of yours, I would recommend against spending a year to bank up a catalog of music because it will probably be unusable for the needs that happen a year from now. So what's really going to happen if you do spend that year not signing up for Taxi, but making music in anticipation of becoming a Taxi member, you are going to make a bunch of music that is unsuited for television just because you don't know the difference yet. One of the beauties of Taxi is that you are getting feedback with every submission that you send in. And so you're finding out what worked and what didn't work along the way. And if you're just operating in a vacuum trying to build up this pitchable catalog, then you're not getting any of that feedback and you're probably going to be making a bunch of music that will go nowhere. And let me shed a little bit more reality on human nature. If you take a year off and don't have any deadlines staring at you in the face, you are probably just not going to get started. And another beautiful thing about Taxi is you are working on deadlines. And there is nothing that will kick you in the ass quite like a deadline that is staring you in the face. Okay, so now tip number 3. You need to listen to all 3 reference tracks that Taxi provides. Try to find out what the similarities are, if there's a common tempo, a common key, if the voice is doing a certain thing, if there's a certain type of mood, what the instrumentation is,
Blah, blah, blah.
You get the idea. Listen to all 3 references and find the commonalities and then do all of those common things in your music. Now, if you do run into that 3rd reference, which can sometimes seem like it's an outlier of the bunch, do not create music that is specifically geared towards that outlier. If there are 3 pieces of music and 2 of them sound remarkably similar and one of them is like,
Why did Taxi even include that?
well, there's a reason they included it, but make your music sound like these 2 and not the outlier. If you are chasing the outlier, you're probably chasing the wrong elements. And that will, in my experience, lead to rejection more than it does to a forward. And to go along with the references, I guess you could consider this part 3B. Read the entire listing. These listings are going to be uber specific. So do exactly what they say. Treat the Taxi listing like a recipe for chocolate chip cookies. So unless you are some master baker, When you go to the kitchen to make cookies for yourself or your kids or whatever, if you're like me, you're probably opening a cookbook and then you're following all of the instructions. You are using all of the exact ingredients and you're doing everything by the letter of the recipe. That's the way you need to treat the Taxi listings. They are a recipe for making chocolate chip cookies. Only in this case, we're making music. But the concept is the same. Taxi gives you the entire recipe. They tell you the ingredients to use. You just have to do it. And if you start saying, well, I set out to make chocolate chip cookies, but ended up making this hot dog pie, then it's no wonder why your kids are gonna be like,
Mom, don't let Dad make cookies anymore.
follow the recipe, read the listing, listen to the references. Okay, so now for number 4, you need to understand that music geared for television placements is not at all the same as music designed for the radio or for Spotify or a stage performance or an artist album or anything like that. TV music or sync music is its own animal, and you have to understand that there is a different language, there are different structures, there are different requirements, there are different everything in this branch of the music business. And if you're just jumping into this thing thinking,
Well, I've been a musician my whole life. Surely this should be easy.
newsflash, welcome to the rejection pile. So if you haven't yet watched this video, please check that one out, and that will explain to you why sync music is different than any other style of music. And lastly, number 5, and this is something that you need to keep in your head that will help make the rejections go down easier. There are primarily 2 reasons that Taxi will return or reject music. Number 1, the music is just of such a horrible, abysmal recording quality that it is just impossible to listen to. And if your productions are bad, then you need to learn how to do it better. You need to figure out how to produce music so that it sounds good. But I would say that is a small percentage of the returns that Taxi sends out. I think the biggest reason music gets kicked back is that it did not satisfy the listing requirements. And this is actually a good thing for you guys because it means that your music was probably pretty cool. But just because your music is cool doesn't mean it is appropriate for what the client was looking for. So you might be able to make impeccable sounding recordings. Your music might sound like it belongs right next to Jason Mraz or Bruno Mars or Beyonce or whoever, but it just wasn't right for the listing that you sent it in for. And you have to think about this from the end user's perspective, okay? The person who actually ran the listing with Taxi, they are looking for a certain type of music, and they have to be really selective over what they end up taking into their catalog. And so Taxi is going to screen out all of the stuff that doesn't fully satisfy what these people are looking for. So the bad sounding songs, those are gone. And the ones that aren't exactly what this person wanted, those have to be gone too. Because if this guy was you and you were at a restaurant and you ordered a piece of lasagna with garlic bread, but then the waiter came out bringing you a bowl of fried rice, you would not be happy. And the waiter or the musician might say,
But this is the best fried rice ever. My chef worked really hard on that fried rice, and you just gotta give it a chance. If you just take a bite of that fried rice, it'll blow your mind, it'll change your world. You'll never want another lasagna again.
and you, the poor customer, you're just sitting on your chair being like, I just wanted a lasagna. And now this stupid waiter won't leave me alone. This guy needs to get his I just wanted some lasagna. So think of the Taxi process like that. You, as the customer in a restaurant, are also the company who is asking for music from Taxi. And then Taxi is the waiter who comes bringing in the wrong food. So customer is going to be extremely mad at Taxi because they brought in the wrong stuff. Meanwhile, it's the cook back there who went off the rails and determined that he's going to make you fried rice instead of lasagna. And that cook is you. So don't be that guy. You need to be the musician that makes the company exactly exactly what they are asking for. And at that point, Taxi will be more than willing to serve up your music on a silver platter and say, here you go, customer. It is exactly what you were looking for. It doesn't mean the fried rice sucks. The fried rice was probably great, but it's not what the customer wanted. Well, there you have it. Those are my 5 tips for increasing your chances of success in taxi music. Now, in my next video, I'm going to give you a bunch of ways in which you can maximize your taxi membership to get way more than $300 worth of value out of that company. But that'll happen next time. So for now, I just want to end on a joke again. Did you guys hear about the computer that got the Miley virus? It stopped twerking. I just wanted a lasagna.